Hi, thanks for watching. Any clips I've used in this video will be linked in the description. What we're about to have a look at here is Sirius. Now, I have a few questions regarding this. Like, how is it possible that given clear nights, I can stand at my front door night after night and do the same thing? Watch Sirius as it appears and slowly rises as it drifts slowly west in the sky, and I can watch that happen night after night. Now, that would be impossible if what we are told about where we really live was true. Right, so slow it down and I'll show you what I mean about what they say about where we live and what happens, and why I say this would be impossible to repeat night after night. And not only that, but we see the same constellations in the sky that were seen in ancient times, and the distance between them has not changed. For example, Orion's belt is always the same distance as it's always been. Right, so now I'll show you what I'm talking about. To locate Sirius is quite easy. It's part of the Orion constellation, and to locate it, the distance between the outer lights here, if you go 7 times that distance at the same angle, you'll come to the brightest light in the sky, second only to the sun, so they say. And that's how you'll see it in what's called the northern hemisphere, and on the other side of the equator you'll see it like this, where instead of being bottom left it'll be top right, and the whole constellation is regarded as upside down. Right, Sirius is also called the dog star. Right, so here we've got a demonstration how the Earth rotates. The only thing he's missing here is he's to put a wee weight at the bottom to give you a tilt, but he's missed that out. But he's using maglev technology here to have this thing floating, right? So he's even got something that represents the moon, right? Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Right, because the Earth rotates through 2 tidal bulges every lunar day, coastal areas experience 2 high and 2 low tides every 24 hours and 50 minutes. High tides occur 12 hours and 25 minutes apart. It takes 6 hours and 12.5 minutes for the water at the shore to go from high to low, or from low to high. Okay. Right, now about this. Coastal areas experience 2 high and 2 low tides every 24 hours. Right, so what happens in Loch Lomond? What happens in Lake Michigan? What happens in even the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea? Why do they don't have 2 high and 2 low tides every day. Right. This again is telling you the sea's daily pattern of 2 tides is caused by a combination of the Earth's rotation and the Moon's gravitational pull. Okay. So the Earth is rotating, we're told, at 1,000 miles an hour and change at the equator, if you believe that. Right. So if it's spinning east to west, west to east, then the water would be kind of flowing the opposite direction constantly, right? But then they say the Moon's gravitational pull has an effect. Okay, then what happens when there's a new moon? Because when there's a new moon, there's actually no moon. Right, so the first motion we have is this spin at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, right? As the moon slowly orbits the Earth. That's the first motion. The second motion that we're supposed to go through is the Earth. Now, to save me repeating myself, just please put the word apparently in most of the comments I'm about to make. So, apparently the Earth has an orbit around the Sun at almost 67,000 miles per hour. Right? And as that's happening, the Sun is in an orbit within the Milky Way at an astonishing 500,000 miles an hour. Right? So that's the second and the third motion. I'll show you how that works. So far, we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour as we orbit the Sun at almost 67,000 miles an hour as the Sun does an orbit within the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour. And, well, this is what it looks like. And, well, that's going on unbelievably. A long, long time ago, far, far away, in the middle of nowhere, because there was absolutely nothing, not even a vacuum, there was an explosion. And this explosion just so happened to contain the matter to create an ever-expanding universe, which is still expanding at the speed of light. So that's the force speed, right? There's also one other thing to consider with all this movement going on. Literally, we are told thousands upon thousands of geostationary satellites. That means they don't fucking move, right? So don't take my word for it. The Guardian says it as well, so it must be true. And then we see this. The whole sky itself, right? Now, when I looked at this, I thought, what's going on here? Now, I don't know how you're with angles and perception, but this dish, and this one, these are pointing over this direction somewhere. So why can they reflect something that's down below them? There's no point, that's it. In fact, that one's even pointing further away. You don't think they made that up, do you? Eh? You think that's just Photoshop? Nah, surely people wouldn't fall for that.
Because Earth, we know it spins once a day. Yes, thank you. 3 people know how long a day last year.
Good for row number 2. They're off to a great start.
So you spin, you know, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Yeah. Gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
Yeah.
So it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level.
Which brings me to the thing that started my flat earth journey back in 2015. This is my second channel. My previous channel was up for 5 years. The truth not only sets you free, it also gets your channel taken down. Right, so what woke me up was air travel, in particular long haul flights. Now, like I say, this thing is, they say, spinning permanently at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Okay? Now, long haul flights. Now, there used to be, up until last year, there used to be dozens of flights between Florida and Europe, especially the summer. I mean, the whole eastern seaboard, the USA was getting flights from all over Europe. And you don't get flights from Cape Town to Buenos Aires. It's about the same distance, but no, that don't happen. What does happen is you go for Cape Town and you head north to Europe, and then you head down to Buenos Aires. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Right, something else. Anyway, saying we get back to get the USA. So here's fingers at the road, you. Right, so New York to LA, 8 hours change. LA to New York, 8 hours and change. How is that possible if one plane is flying against the spin and the other plane is going with the spin? And let's not forget, if it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour here, then by here it's 500 miles an hour, which would take it to something like 400 miles an hour for the latitude in New York and LA. So how did that plane catch up? How did it land? Right. What else? Aye. There was I don't know, it was a few years ago now, there was an emergency on a flight, and it was from Japan to Los Angeles, and there was an emergency. The old lady was pregnant or something, and you'd imagine they would land in Hawaii or something, but no, the emergency landing took place in Alaska. Now, none of that makes any sense on this map, but look at another map. It's a map that's favoured by the UN, NATO, and, well, a bunch of other people. Right, so here's that map, and the flight to Cape Town would bring you up to here, and then it would then take you down to here. Right. The flight for Japan to California, well, it kind of speaks for itself. Right, there's Alaska right there. So there's a lot of things about flights that make absolutely no sense unless you look at this map. Right, do some research into long haul flights, see if you can make any sense of them, and always remember, every airplane, no matter where it's landing, is apparently landing on a moving target. I'm not buying it. On the left you see a NASA image of Sirius, and it's courtesy of the Hubble Space Telescope, which I'll have a look at in a minute. On the right is frame by frame taken of Sirius, taken with a P900. So it's just a wee bit different than what NASA see. And I'll see if I can guess it in real time. And that's even slowed down. Here we have the Hubble Space Telescope and even more speed to add to the equation, because although we see this as if it's just floating, apparently it travels at 17,000 miles an hour constantly as it orbits the Earth, and at the same time it can point at some space in the distant universe and keep it in focus for weeks. Bullshit. Right. So the other thing about space is it's a vacuum. Let me show you a vacuum. This is a soda can in a vacuum. Yeah, that was quite dramatic. They don't even bother to Photoshop anything in the background. It just looks like a cartoon. Right, now, this is apparently where the lens points out, right? So if that was to shut down it's hardly going to be a tight seal. It's just a flap, for fuck's sake. Right, and obviously we've put a lot of insulation around this because it's supposed to be cold up there. But why is it all this if it's in a vacuum? Surely it would be held tight against the actual frame of this thing. And why would you have all these components exposed? Just a simple cover. I mean, put one here. You could put one there. What's it? Is that a wee stool? What the? Right, so that's the shuttle, the telescope. The shuttle isn't much different. It also travels at a remarkable speed. So this thing's travelling constantly. Right, and while it's doing that, people are repairing it. And it's all tinfoil. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Right, and this is a female astronaut. And you look at her cuffs. I mean, this is supposed to be a vacuum. Really? That's just elasticated cuffs. And she's got her glasses on in case she has to see anything far away. Maybe. And that's for her cell phone. You flap. And she looks quite comfortable. Quite happy. And she's holding on with one hand and she's travelling at 17,000 miles an hour. Really. This is Rick Bonnell, who lives across the pond. He's kindly offered me free access to all his music for my videos. We had a chat on Monday night and I asked him if he would add some music to some footage if I sent it over, which I did. So on Tuesday morning I sent the footage and on Tuesday night he sent it back. The title of the track is The Two Witnesses. Enjoy. And I'd like to finish off with this. It's a high altitude balloon flight. And you can see that these stars are pretty much just sitting up there. I don't see a lot of movement. All these different speeds we're supposed to be moving at. So and this could be repeated night after night. So how does that work if we're flying all over the place? Eh? You know, we're burling around outer space. So let me show you where we... There we go. So here's the Orion constellation, and right in line with Orion's belt we have Sirius. And like I say, you can see this night after night, which would be impossible if we were burling around at 4 different speeds in 4 different directions. That don't work for me. Well, I rest my case. Thanks for watching. Please comment.